Alright, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with a wrap-up. It's been a hot minute since I did a wrap-up and also just a video in general. I'm sorry about that. I have been in a bit of a reading slump, which we'll talk about when we talk about the books. But yeah, so far this year, I've read 11 books. And in March, I think I've only finished one book. And the ratings for these books has not been great. I think I've had one 5-star, one 4-star, and everything else has been under 4 stars. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I think my average rating is 3.2. I've been going through it. I've also got a lot going on right now because I am looking to move out and buy a place. So my husband and I are looking into that, and that takes a lot of time. So sorry, it's very windy today, and so the clouds are moving and the lighting is going to change a lot. Apologies. Also, I have wet hair because if I try and blow dry my hair and diffuse it, it just turns into a puffy mess. So I have to let it air dry, and then it looks like ramen noodle clumps at the moment, but it is what it is. It's been a while. I haven't done a wrap up since October of last year, and I'm not going to talk about the books for November, December. I was initially planning to, but I was planning to post this in January. I was going to do like November, December, January, a little winter wrap up. But now it's the end of March and I still haven't filmed a wrap up. So yeah, we're just going to talk about the books that I've read so far in 2026. Can't believe Q1 is pretty much over already. That's kind of crazy. I'm rambling a little bit. Let's just get into it. So I haven't done a wrap up in such a long time, but how I would normally do my wrap up is, first of all, I go through all of the stats that are on Storygraph. Normally I do them monthly, but we can actually look at the whole year so far because I haven't done a wrap up. Then we go through all of the books I read and when I rated them, and then I will talk in more detail about books that I feel like I have more to say about, which, to be honest, it's not going to be a lot of them. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I will go through my stats so far. And if you want to skip to any part, you can do so. I always put the timestamps below because I know not everyone cares about the stats. I think it's kind of fun. So as I said, so far in the year, I've read 11 books, which only goes out to 3,732 pages. And I've listened to 14.12 hours of audiobook. So I have not listened to a lot of audiobooks. I also have not read a lot of pages, which I haven't read a lot. And on average, it's taken me 7 days to finish a book. I've been reading pretty slowly. In terms of the moods, I have equally funny and emotional reads, some hopeful, lighthearted, mysterious, adventurous, reflective, and informative. So yeah, the whole spectrum of human emotion as usual. Move on to pace. All of the books I've read have been medium paced, apparently, although I would argue that some have been slow paced and some have been fast paced for me. What is slightly annoying about Storygraph is they don't take into account what I categorize it as. They just take the general consensus, and apparently all these books have been medium paced. For page number, I've read mostly books that are between 304 and 99 pages, 8 of them in fact, and then I've read one book that was under 300 pages. And I've listened to 2 audiobooks, one of which was like the same like medium-sized book, and then one which was smaller. For my fiction nonfiction split, I have in fact read one nonfiction book so far this year, which is one more than last year. Yeah, in 2025 I didn't read a single nonfiction book, and so far in 2026 I've only finished one, but I have read bits and pieces of other ones. I'm struggling to commit to reading full nonfiction books. But it will happen, I promise. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna read nonfiction. Tentatively, I want to read like 12 this year, but we'll see. It's already March, end of March, and I haven't finished another one, so only time will tell. Moving on to genres. So I've read mostly romance. I feel like my brain has just not been able to handle anything else. So 7 out of the 11 books that I've read have been romance, whether that be contemporary romance or fantasy romance. But yeah, most of them have had a strong romantic theme because that's easy reading. And my brain has just been like, I can't handle more. But I think I'm kind of getting out of that now, and I can try to read something a little bit juicier. And then 6 of the books I read were contemporary. I would say they were probably mostly contemporary romance. I had 2 young adults, 2 sci-fi, 2 literary, 2 fantasy, and 1 reference. In terms of the format, I've read quite a few digital books. I've accidentally requested a bunch of ARCs, and then I have to actually read those ARCs. So I'm trying to stay on top of those. Yeah, I've read mostly digital books, 6 of them. I've read 3 print books and 2 audiobooks. This is just like by month. As you can see, it's pretty bad. So I actually read 5 books in January, 5 books in February, and 1 book in March. But yeah, most pages read in January, and then yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I have not read a lot. In March, I've read, oh my god, I've read less than 700 pages in an entire month. That's horrifying. Like I said, my average rating is 3.2. I had 1 2-star, 3 2.5s, 1 2.75, 2 3.25s, 2 3.75s, 1 4, and 1 5. So It's bad. It's really bad. Things are not going well. But yeah, those are all the stats. I think you can see I haven't been reading because I haven't been enjoying reading. But yes, let's just quickly go over all of the books I read and when I rated them, and then we'll get into some reviews, and hopefully that will be better. So the first book I finished in the year was Red Star Rebels by Amy Kaufman. This was an advanced reader copy which has now come out. I gave this 2.5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of People Who Meet on Vacation. I was actually very close to finishing both of those books in 2025, and that was my aim, but that did not happen because I had a very bad start to the year, which you may know about if you're up to date with my videos. If not, I'm not going to talk about it. So yeah, things have been shit, and started off the year with some crappy books. So yeah, I give People Who Meet on Vacation 2.5 stars. I love Emily Henry. I don't like People Who Meet on Vacation. I liked the movie though. Then I read It's Different This Time by Joss Richard, which was also an arc that I had because it came out later in the UK than in the US. So it came out here in January, and I gave this 3.25 stars. Then I read These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, which I randomly had on my Kindle, and I gave this 2 stars. Then I finally finished Useless Etymology by Jess Safarias, and I gave this 4 stars. This was an arc, but it came out in October, and it just took a very long time to finish it. Then I read Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, and I gave this 3.75 stars. I also read The Rom-commers by Catherine Center, and I gave this 5 stars. Then I read 3 Days in June by Ann Tyler, and I gave this 2.75 stars. Next, I read Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This again was an arc, but it's now come out, and I gave this 3.25 stars. I read How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh, another arc which has now come out, and I gave this 3.75 stars. And finally, the last book I finished is The Ministry of Time by Kayleigh Bradley, and I gave this 2.5 stars. And I'm currently reading, I thought I'd just throw this in there. I'm hoping to finish it in March, so in theory I should include it in this video, but I don't have a rating for it yet. But I'm currently reading Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley, which is a book I recently bought on a whim, and I'm like a little under halfway through. Okay, I'm actually quite a bit under halfway through. It's like 440 pages. I'm on page 170, so yeah, I'm not at halfway through, but I'm enjoying this. It's interesting. I'm not going to go into what this is about because I'm actually going to be talking about this in a video that's coming up soon, a reading vlog. It's TBR Tackle. Those are all the books I read and when I rated them. And then should we just talk about anything I have more to say about them? Maybe I'll just talk about all of them, but I will talk about these in order from worst to best. So the worst book I've read so far has been These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This I picked up because I remember I watched My Lady Jane and then I read Serpent and Dove at the same time, kind of, and I got obsessed with the like forced marriage trope, and I was looking for that, and this came up in a list of forced marriage trope books. It did not have that, really, I don't think, and it was just generally pretty bad. It was a fae book. She was a human. She ended up having to go to the fae world to save her sister, and there were 2 guys. One was like from the good side, one was from the evil side, and she had complicated feelings for both of them. I don't really remember the finer details. I think there was like some sort of competition apparently, but like it didn't actually happen. This was just not good. It was not well written. It was young adult but smutty, so it was weird. It was like, that's not okay. Like, make your characters older if you want to do that, and like you so easily could have made them older. It was not necessary to have them be younger. It was weird. I didn't like it, and I don't really remember that much about it because it was not memorable at all. I just remember I didn't like it. Anyway, moving on. Next, I reread People Who Meet on Vacation. Like I said, I had read that before and I didn't like it that time, but I think that was like my first or second Emily Henry. So I was like, okay, maybe I just didn't get Emily. And so I decided to reread it because I love Emily Henry now. And no, I just don't like this book. I don't like Poppy. I don't really care for Alex that much. I don't like them together, and I just don't think that she has a particularly good attitude towards like his girlfriends when he's in a relationship. Like, she feels this entitlement towards him because she's his friend, and that's not okay. Like, she behaves like she's his girlfriend, but she's not, and he has another girlfriend, and I just don't like Poppy, okay? I don't like Poppy. Maybe it's coming from a sensitive place, I don't know, but I don't like her. I don't like this book. I do like the movie though. The movie was fun. It does have some good banter moments, and like, it's Emily Henry, so it's not the worst book I've ever read, but it's not good. Also Red Star Rebels by Amy Kaufman, another 2.5. This one was unfortunate. I thought it was going to be really fun. I haven't read anything else by Amy Kaufman apart from the Illuminae files, which I really, really enjoyed. And this sounded like it was going to be really intense and fun. Basically set in space. There were people living on other planets, and we follow this one girly, I can't remember her name. She is there and she's not supposed to be. She's not registered, and she's actually kind of on the run. Like, she's illegally come to space because there are still people living on Earth, but like, it's not really where you want to be. She has illegally come to this planet, and the other person, her other main character, this guy, he is the son of like the people who built the technology to like colonize this planet. So his family has a lot of money. He's got a good background. And yeah, then she's like a thief and a criminal, and their paths cross, and they actually are both the last two people on this base because the base is evacuated when she gets there, and it turns out that they have 8 hours to stop some criminals who come in and want to blow up the base and have this sort of wider conspiracy plot that they've got planned. So yeah, the whole book takes place over like 10 hours. You have the countdown of the 8 hours, and within that time there's like a full-on romance. These characters meet and there's a full-on romance, and I found that very irritating because I was like, you don't know each other. You've known each other for 8 hours. What are you talking about? So I didn't enjoy that part a ton. And also this was just very short. It was under 300 pages and I feel like it could have been longer and given the characters more time to develop a little bit. It was very fast paced. It was fun, but I just don't think it was the best thing I've ever read. So then in theory, like the next ones in the ranking are The Ministry of Time and 3 Days in June, 2.5 and 2.75. But these are actually both going to be in a video, which is coming soon. So I am not going to talk about them. You'll just have to wait and hear my full thoughts behind those ratings. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Then we have It's Different This Time by Joss Richard, which I gave 3.25, like I said. This follows our two characters, Adam and June. They basically were roommates. They kind of fell out a few years ago. She's moved to LA. He's still living in New York, but they obviously no longer live in this place, but they were the last ones to live in that apartment, and the owner actually passes away and he doesn't have any family to leave this apartment to, so he leaves it to Adam and June, but they have to live together for a month while the paperwork is being sorted out. So while they're living together, they're kind of dealing with past feelings and old wounds, and so yeah, it's like a second chance romance, and I enjoyed it, but I can't massively remember what I said about this book. Oh, I know. Okay, so what I liked about this book was it did feel like a 2000s rom-com, which I enjoyed. I also really liked seeing their friendship grow and turn into something more. Like they started off as strangers and they became friends, and you saw that development, and then you saw it turn into something more. And I liked the setting. It was a good setting, but then there were more things that I actually disliked. So I didn't really like Adam's character. I felt like he wasn't super fleshed out. Like I didn't really know him by the end of the book. It also felt like it was a little bit drawn out. Like when we finally found out why they like fell apart in the first place, it was a long time to get to that point. And it just felt like a little bit too long. And I have a bit of a pet peeve. With a second chance romance, I do not see any need for a third act breakup because it's already second chance. Like we already know you've tried, you've broken up or split up, gone your separate ways, whatever. You've already tried, it hasn't worked out. So we know that there are things that you can and will overcome because you're not having this second chance romance. So why are we having another breakup? Like it's just so unnecessary. Sometimes it also just feels like crammed in there at the end. Like, and yeah, there was a lot of miscommunication. They just weren't having a normal conversation. It was annoying. So yeah, I did enjoy this book, but it wasn't like my favorite thing ever. Next we have Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. Again, this is a 3.25. I enjoyed this book somewhat, but like I cannot believe that it's a book about cats and magic, and I didn't love it. But I did not really enjoy Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which is by the same author, but I was like, this book sounds like my perfect book. But I just didn't really like the main character, Agnes. I feel like I didn't really know her that well. So if you don't know what Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter is about, basically follows her main character, Agnes, and she has this cat shelter, but at the beginning of the book, she's actually looking for a new location for her cat shelter because there are magicians in Montreal. It's set in 1920s Montreal. Did I say that? I can't remember. But it's set in 1920s Montreal, and Agnes doesn't like magicians. She doesn't like magic because the magicians are actually really dangerous, and a lot of the times they don't have any consideration for the people around them, the non-magical people, and how their actions will impact them because they have these big magical fights and they damage buildings. Like the whole street was torn apart because of these magicians, which was the same street that Agnes was living on where she had her cat shelter. She has to find a new location. She finds this new place and it's in a really nice area. It's a pretty cool building, but there is something a little bit weird about it, but the rent is crazy cheap. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna just not ask any questions. I'm just gonna come here. Turns out that there's a magician living in the basement. So like her worst nightmare. And yeah, it's just her kind of dealing with that, getting embroiled in these magical mishaps. And like, it was fun. It was cute, but I feel like there could have been more personality with the cats. Like cats do have personality and there could have been more. And also I just didn't really feel like Agnes was like a leading lady. Like I didn't really know that much about her. Like not as in like her character type, but like her character was not fleshed out. Like, I did not know that much about her. I knew a lot more about the guy, and also it was pretty slow paced. So just overall, it was not my perfect book. I was hoping it would have been, but it wasn't. I gave it a 3.25. It was fine. I would still recommend it, but I just think Heather Foss is maybe not for me. Next, I have Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. I already spoke about this and actually my highest rated book, the Rom-commers. I talked about both these books in my romance reading vlog, which was my last TBR Tackle episode, and actually my last video. Oops. So I'll link that up in the card if you want to hear more, but this is a second chance romance. It's the second book in the Spoons Oregon series, with the first one being Savor It, which I loved. One of my favorite books of last year. And this one was good. It was just a little bit too smutty for me, so I'll give this 3.75. And then the Rom-commers by Catherine Center. It's a sort of enemies to lovers. Not really, like they're reluctantly working together, and he's quite mean to her in the beginning, but they are working on a screenplay, his screenplay, and he's playing rom-coms. She loves rom-coms, and they're working together, living together, and slowly some feelings arise. And I loved it. Okay, we just have 2 books left to talk about. So, How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh. Like I said, I gave this 3.75 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a really quick read, and it was actually my first Catherine Walsh book. I've heard of her before, but I will definitely be reading more by her. I really enjoyed her writing style. I loved the small town setting. It was really fun. It follows our main character, Kira, and she is living in this rural town in Ireland, and it's actually where she grew up. And she's dealing with grief because her father unfortunately passed away, and he was a very famous author of this fantasy series, and he actually didn't get to publish his final book, but he's left behind some notes and the caveat that the only person who could possibly write this book is Kira. So that's the situation that Kira's in, and in comes Sam, who works for the publishing agency which publishes her dad's books, and he is going to be her editor and help her with finishing this book. He's also a big fan of the series, and so that kind of creates a little bit of tension because Kira is very wary of her father's fans because they are very intrusive and not very respectful of her. That was a really interesting avenue to explore, and I enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the cozy small town setting. There were some really funny side characters. There was this whole side plot with her best friend who owned a smoothie truck, and she had a nemesis from Dublin, from the big city. So they had a feud going on, which was really fun, a little fun little side plot. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. The only reason I didn't rate it higher was because we did have a few time jumps where I feel like we could have seen the relationship developing a little bit more and seen more of the funny flirty banter. That would have been really fun. And also towards the end, I just didn't love the third act breakup situation. But yeah, it was really good. I would definitely recommend it, and I had a good time with it. And then finally, the last book to talk about is Useless Etymology by Jess Severius, and this is exactly what it says on the tin. This is a book about useless etymology. So just the etymology behind words in the English language, where they came from. But if you are new here and you've never seen me before, hello. I love linguistics and I love language. I just like learning about the English language, other languages, how language works, how people speak. I find it really interesting. Sociolinguistics as well. All of it. I love it. I read a lot of books about language. Well, when I'm reading nonfiction. So yeah, this one was really fun. It was really informative, but it was also very fun. It was definitely a bit tongue-in-cheek. There were some jokes in there, which if you like linguistics, then you will probably find them funny. It was quite self-aware. There were a lot of comments about being a language nerd and stuff like that. My favorite chapter was the one about acronyms and initialisms, because I learned that SOS does not mean save our souls or save our ships, which I feel I've always thought it was. But SOS actually refers to the Morse code that is used to convey this universal distress signal. Because obviously, why would SOS mean save our souls? Because that's English only, and it's a universal distress signal, So yeah, was fun. It was good. It was interesting. And I think it's one that you definitely don't want to sit down and read all in one go. That would probably be boring. But if you're dipping in and out of it over the course of 4 or 5 months, like I did, then you might have a good time with it. But yeah, those are all 11 books that I've read so far this year. As you can tell, I don't feel super passionately about any of them, but I'm hoping that, it will only go up from here, fingers crossed. But yeah, that's all that I have for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. And please let me know what you've been reading recently. If you have any recommendations for me to help me get out of this slump. What are your tips for getting out of a reading slump? I know all of the tips. I've heard them so many times. What's something that you've tried recently that's worked really well for you? Because I don't know why I just can't read. I can read, but like I'm struggling. Like something really weird is that I don't want to read at home. Like when I'm at home, I feel guilty if I go to sit down to read. Like I'm always prioritizing other stuff before reading, and I don't get why, because I'd much rather be reading than doing some of the other random crap I'm doing. So I don't know, give me your tips. What's got you out of a reading slump recently? But yeah, that's all that I have. So if you made it all the way to the end and you don't know what to say, leave me a stack of books down below, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.